So, bringing it in. Previously, the goats have made their way. You're obviously kind of on a quest heading to the Majocracy of Kirondile, following the legend of the long-forgotten entropic spheres. Having braved the horrors of Vandis, the dangers of the Crividus Sea, you arrived at the port town of Whitecliff on Kirondile, where you spent a bit of time doing some shopping. You ran into someone from Faendal's forgotten past, who revealed he had once been one of the great readers at the Serenity Library. You then headed, with the new allies you had acquired during this time, to the Serenity Library, the centre of knowledge within the known world. You approached the Serene Gate and provided requisite knowledge that was not yet contained within the library as your entrance into its hallowed halls. Varying evidence was provided, from the knowledge of important religious sites to tragic backstories which still drive characters to this day. You, once inside, some of you carried about some crucial research on topics that may aid you in future, and through Rendi Gasono, the individual you met in Whitecliff, managed to obtain an audience with the council of the library to resolve the confusion of Faendal's reappearance on the Isle. What followed was an evening of much drinking in the Roaring Hearth Tavern and some incredibly questionable decision-making, leading to you being evicted from the tavern and dealing significant damage to your reputations at the library. The next morning you met Rendi at the Sunrise Gate to head towards the vaulted towers where the current council were convening to conduct a trial to determine the legitimacy of Faendal's return and how to handle it if he is in fact who he says he is. And that is where we pick up. You're walking on the white-grey paving which weaves between the nearly 24 tall white stone towers, conical roofed spires which have interconnecting walkways that would allow someone to pass from tower to tower without having to walk upon the actual ground. Here and there you spy some people in conversation, walking along these paths in between patches of vibrant green grass and verdant flowers. And all of these people wear very similar garb to Rendi, although none of them have the stole, that kind of long scarf-like accoutrement that Faendal has in his possession and has taken to wearing within the Serenity Library. Rendi turns to you and she goes, are there any questions while we walk? I'm sure some of you have something you would like answered.
What's the process going to be like?
Well, it's not exactly preordained how a situation like this is handled. The current proposal and what we are heading towards now, as she points towards one of the shorter, thicker tower kind of at the centre of all of this. Well, the plan is that the council, the Great Readers, the First Reader and the Keeper of the Tomes himself, will interview Faendal to assess his legitimacy through varying means of questioning and certain spellcraft of some kind, whereupon they will vote to determine whether they believe he is who he says he is, and then I think we go from there. The council chambers does have an audience area, and you yourselves will of course be allowed to witness the event. I'm unsure how audience participation will be taken, but it may help his case. else? I suppose I should probably explain how all of this works as she points to the various towers as you're walking past. The towers themselves are accommodation for the librarians, the readers, as well as housing more commonly requested materials from the library, such that they're more easily accessed for those in the halls. And each reader, upon induction to the council, is granted a personal sanctum in one of the upper portions of the towers, where they can cultivate their own personal libraries, conduct research into matters of their choosing, and have a room away from the hustle and bustle of the library. You look around. Hustle and bustle isn't probably how you would explain this library, but apparently. As for the majority of the content of the library, well, that is beneath your feet. Just enter again.
You did send a message.
Okay. Leave it there for now. I don't care. Yes. Yeah. Miles and miles of protected stacks, and bookshelves and vaults contain everything anyone could possibly need while researching here at the library. Access to it all is found in the principal hall, which is, and she points to the larger tower again, which is where we're heading, as it is also where the council chambers are. So, you can tell there's a lot of apprehension in her voice. She's kind of stuck her neck out on something that's never happened before, and there's an element of a lot of her reputation riding on this as well.
Firstly, Rambear is going to look down at their feet and be like, books? And miles? Miles? Books? Underground? How? Are there tunnels already?
Not when we arrived, but we are built on top of a cliff that does descend a fair way underneath the sea floor, so we have enough ground to cover, and that just tells you how much is known within the library.
Rambear's going to sidle up to Thrungi and ask if he thinks there's dwarven craftsmanship at work in creating the library.
Some.
Pretty cool.
No dwarfs, though.
Oh, yeah.
You eventually reach the doors to the principal hall. As I say, it looks very similar to the other towers here, but much more accommodating, almost like it is a communal space. And you head inside, and it's a large kind of circular ring-like hall that you enter into that you can see kind of curves around, and you estimate would just completely encircle the outer section of the building, with a number of bookshelves and desks with small reading lamps on, where the odd person is seen studying. You see all kinds of people in various robes, elves, half-elves, humans, dwarves, a couple of gnomes here or there, just going about some research within this space. If you look around, you can spot a number of kind of bronze figurehead busts with placards underneath that you assume are relevant figures of history. Either side of the entranceway that you came through, there are two large spiral staircases that seem to go both up and down. into the floor and into the ceiling, leading either further up this tower or into the stacks below. And you just, well, I think we're a little early, so we have a little bit of time. Is there anything we can do to prepare, or anything?
Are there records of Faendal's time here?
Almost certainly. I mean, conventional is that they're not made public record until the reader has passed, but considering as far as we're concerned, he has. It should be somewhere.
You're saying my records are available for public view?
Well, for members of the library. We don't make it accessible to anyone externally.
You still don't have access to my private sanctum, so anything important will still be there.
Yes, that is indeed correct. We have not been able to access your sanctum.
I do have one potential thread. I have this box, and I've been carrying it for a while now, and I hadn't really noticed it until fairly recently. I think it has something to do with what happened to me. But the last time I tried to open it, it backfired quite dramatically on myself.
Oh, that's may I ask, backfired how?
A wave of pain and exhaustion just tore over me.
Sounds rather dangerous.
It's not like anything I've ever. Well, I don't know if I've ever known of, but as far as I'm aware.
Interesting. Do you mind if I take a look?
Yes, of course. But take care.
Of course, of course. She takes it very gingerly in her hands. She kind of looks it over.
Well, it's certainly a more unique design. You don't find anything like this just on a shelf. I can't be 100% certain, but it appears to be a containment box of some kind, possibly used for housing dangerous artifacts, or I suppose it could be purposed to handle trapping entities if it had extra-dimensional properties. I can't be certain, just from looking at it.
That was my thoughts as well. Do you think if I presented it before the council that might help the case in any way?
It may. I suppose the more interesting element would be what is inside of it, rather than the box itself. And I'm assuming you have not found a way to open it just yet.
I have been tempted to try, but they're not. The pain.
Well, keep it in the back pocket if you feel like it would make use during the interview. Push comes to shove, they may just add it on as a final piece of evidence. I mean, the sounds of it being dangerous means I don't particularly want to try and open it right now. Maybe it's something to open in a secure environment rather than in the centre of the community towers.
On a more relevant note, then, magical test?
I'm certain they'll propose some various magics just to cover the bases. There's plenty of kinds out there. I presume you won't object.
No, but I'm not sure my magic is quite what it was. I still haven't deciphered. I have my old spell book, but I haven't quite deciphered it all.
Well, you were a rather secretive individual. It doesn't surprise me that it was rather tough to crack. I imagine some element will be asking you to showcase some level of technical ability, but not everyone here actually is a magical practitioner, so it might, again, help sway in certain directions. It's useful that you at least remember it on some level.
My other thing, was I noted for carrying around a blade? I have this sword it means a lot to me, and I'm not quite sure how. From days on the as a captain, I believe I recall, whether this was something that was prominent and known about me.
Yes, quite.
You
So a fairly recognisable and unique design.
Yes, yes, you were always known to have that on your person, especially during external presentations. In fact, Alchrist, my mentor, is quite enjoyed your conversations with him about your stories involving your time before all of this. That will probably greatly help as a piece of proof. Feeling more confident already. The rest of you, I'm aware you've probably not known Faendal for too long, maybe only a year, but if push comes to shove and questions are asked,
Can we rely on you to
support his case?
We will vouch for him in any way necessary, but
Well,
how is his memory loss going to be taken into account?
Well, there are known methods of causing someone to lose their memory in general, and known counters to such thing. Suitable level of magic should be able to clear it. I don't want to speak for the council themselves as to what they will try, but I'm sure it will be on the agenda as a quick fix.
Do the rest of us hear Faendal talking about his box?
Probably
be
will.
quite.
Has Faendal ever told us about his box of pain?
No.
Balthazar has noticed it before, but that's it.
And would Rambear have noticed that they were talking about a weird pain death box?
Yeah, you would have heard that conversation just now.
Rambear's gonna stop walking. Oh. Whoa! Whoa, whoa, whoa! Faendal, you've been carrying a mystery pain box around and never told us.
I mean, I didn't even notice until the bottle of wine from Lord Von Reyes. It hadn't really crossed my mind. I must have been carrying it for as long as I've been around you guys, but yeah, and then I attempted to open it, and when I came down for breakfast that morning in a very, very poor state, that was when I tried to open it.
Rambear's gonna look a little heartbroken and say, "And you lied to us?"
It's in my mind. It's got a hook in my mind. I don't know why. I just kind of I didn't associate it with the box at the time. Something about the box is playing on my mind. I'm not sure how.
Do you think we can find out about it in the library?
Hopefully, I would like to.
Right, guys, I'm probably gonna have to drop off this evening.
Okay.
It just keeps freezing and dropping me out of everything. So
Oh no.
so Venter's gone off.
To do
Ben
further
didn't
research.
follow you through the doors. Ben's gone back to the library for a bit to do some reading while you're all shell shit out.
No problems.
Sorry about that.
We left it spent after
Yeah.
the meeting.
Okay.
You can read the Google Doc.
Yeah.
That's what it's there for.
Bye.
Scribbling note.
Yeah. Amber's going to turn to the others and ask if they knew about the scary box.
No.
I didn't know it was a scary box, but I remember spotting it in his bag one time. It was glowing, I think? And he just said it was some knick-knack that he held on to, and that was it. I didn't think it was dangerous. He never told me it was a hurty box.
See, I vaguely remember that, but I don't remember the box in that situation. It's like it was pushed out of my mind. Like you pointed it out and something went and took it away.
That sounds like it might be magical then. Or
There's nothing magical about the box. I believe I detected magic on the box that morning when I solved it.
I don't remember you doing it, but we can say that you have.
There is nothing technically magical about the box, I don't think, is there?
It is somewhat magical. The locking mechanism itself isn't.
Okay, never mind.
It is a puzzle box. There's not an active enchantment on it. Essentially, it's more suffused within it, kind of premise.
could it be cursed? Could it have an entity in it, like the sword?
I don't know. I wouldn't recommend trying to open it. If I can't open it, it's going to be very, very hard to open.
Shall we
Could have
try?
answers though.
I've got big old paws. I can open anything.
Got a crowbar.
I would very much say that you probably shouldn't try. Like the feeling when I tried before, it felt like it could have knocked me unconscious.
That stiff breeze can knock you unconscious, Faendal. No offense.
It might
Yeah.
unlock some of your memories if you're having trouble remembering even the box itself.
I don't know. It's like it fights my perception of it. As I've grown stronger and as my memories have slowly returned, my awareness of it has grown as well. But even now, saying that, then I've wanted to mention it and bring it forward a few times, and it fights back against it. Even putting it away, I can't picture the box quite. I definitely think it has something to do with my memory.
Then it definitely is something to bring about the trial. Perhaps they could come up with a way to open it safely. You know, it could bring your memories back.
And the box itself, I don't think the box itself is magical. I think it's just a puzzle. But it's impossible. So the puzzle changes every time. Anyway. I think it's not the peak of our concerns right now.
I'd appreciate you telling us in the future about any hurty boxes you come across. Please.
Right, the only other box I have right now is the warm box. I think that's a good box.
I like the warm box.
I told you about one. That's out of two. That's a 1 out of 2 times I've told you about boxes. You know.
50% of the boxes have been disclosed. Is there anything we can do to make you more convincing? Maybe a very quick lesson in how to be charismatic?
How dare you? I am very charismatic. Thank you very much.
Should always be a
Well.
little bit more.
Decently charismatic.
Because, you know, there's a one... Off the dome, there's like a 1 in 20 chance of you not being very charismatic.
Well, I could always try charming the council.
Don't try charming the council.
I feel like that would be a bad idea.
No, but can we do
It would
anything
be
to
a
make
Can
that?
always,
It would be a great idea for an hour.
Maybe just try and be professional seeming.
I think.
Is there
I'm-
anything you can give Faendal or put on him so he can have advantage at speaking?
I can always try to give you some guidance, but only a little bit.
I think I might have a trick up my sleeve. If they are a bit unconvinced, there's something I think I can do.
Would
I
being
tried
able
it,
to
yeah.
use water help?
There's something I think I can do. I haven't tried it yet, but I have
Keep that.
Horribly wrong.
something up my sleeve.
And can we do anything to Faendal's appearance? Like, comb his beard or something?
I think we might be overthinking this.
Fine. What is fated to happen will happen. Maybe. Probably. Perhaps. At this point, it's a iffy subject.
I think as long as you guys support me and are there for me, I think I can get through this.
Thrungi's actually looking the cleanest you've ever seen him for once.
That means the most.
His hair is still spiked and he still smells vaguely of pig fat from what he uses, but he's clean. As are his clothes.
You don't know
No.
how much that means to me from you.
He still has
There's
his
no blood in his beard. Holy shit.
None of you lot ain't clerics to know this, but he went to the spa.
Oh yeah.
I feel like Faendal would notice the cleanliness. It's a big part of him that he's like, cleanliness.
Well, you all definitely have noticed it. It is a drastic visual change.
Damn, Thrungi.
Can we
I might have missed
we all complimented Thrungi's face?
I like, oh, Thrungi's changed.
With one hand, like, over his axe, like, perfectly balanced, so that the weight of his left arm offset, like, his head, the opposite side, and then he has his tankard.
It is getting some strange looks from the actual librarians, but no one is actively questioning it at this point because there's enough drama going on that they're like, just see how it plays out.
At this point, it's not dwarven ale that's in there, he filled it up with normal ale before he left.
Left where?
The accommodation.
Oh, is this your magical tankard?
Yes, he filled it up manually rather than using dwarven ale to not get too drunk yet.
Fair.
Yes.
Well, are we all ready? I think we can get on with things.
I'll quickly cast guidance and just like touch him on the shoulder before.
Yeah, that lasts.
We
an
go any
hour,
further.
so
Appreciate
on
it.
your next ability check, Faendal.
That's the one. Something.
Doesn't nobody have that one where you get advantage on certain ability checks?
There
Can't
are-
remember.
The druid can take it, but hasn't.
Okay.
Enhance ability. Enhance ability.
Yeah.
Help with saving throw.
I thought that clerics could take it too.
Possibly.
Clerics can get enhanced ability.
I don't know what that was. Most
I've-
classes can, but the wizard can pick it up as well.
Yeah, I can.
So,
Cool. Right then. Faendal, I'll show you to the entrance for you, and then quickly show your friends here to the gallery, where they can find a seat. Okay. And she walks briskly towards the kind of centre of the area where there is a set of doors leading in to the signpost above, essentially the council chambers. Where she leaves you, Faendal, there, just with, you'll know when you're told to enter. Best of luck. And then she hurries off, kind of taking you guys up kind of side stairs, which leads into a gallery, where it's fairly full. There's obviously a lot of people who have caught wind of what is going on and want to see what happens. As a brand new event.
No pressure.
And you all kind of find a seat when he's like, mind saving me one? I'm just gonna be right back.
Can can Rambear ask Andy to bring back a really big piece of parchment and some ink?
Of course, yeah.
Thank
no
you.
problems. She heads away. There's a brief kind of 5-10 minutes just kind of waiting. Tension's kind of starting to build on you, Faendal, a little bit. Those of you already in the audience. Sorry, Chris?
I'm meditating with my peacock
Fair enough.
in front of me.
What hat is the peacock wearing? This is important for notes.
Well, there was a barrier, wasn't there?
Oh,
I remember being peacock is. I was. There's a moment that we haven't actually touched on, where it is presumably Rambear presented Faendal with the collection of hats. May I ask what hats there were, because I can add them to my inventory.
if you can ask. Can I? Where the fuck am I writing that?
Other
Sorry for
than guarantee, there is at least one beret and one top hat. Up to you, Emma.
Sorry, I can find the hats because I wrote them down because they're very important.
I think there was a bowler hat in there.
No, I think it was top hats and a beret. I can't remember the colours. That's the scary episode. I will tell you later, Chris.
Some top hats and a beret.
And a beret.
There's a moment earlier that happened at some point, presumably while there was alcohol involved, where Rambear presented these hats to Faendal. Faendal saw the beret and was very touched and was like, "Yes, thank you. This is what I've been missing."
It's a purple beret.
Purple
Is
beret.
it green, red, purple, and 2 black top hats and 1 purple beret? I will send that to you in chat.
A hat
Oh,
for
yes.
every outfit. Those of you who are in the gallery, you see 10 figures dressed in very ornate green and white robes, wearing the similar stoles that you've seen Faendal wear, enter in and take seats on a kind of banking curve in front of the wooden stage at the bottom. Each of them turns on a small kind of white, yellowish arcane light at their seat, such that it kind of upcasts underneath them, such that they are clearly visible to whoever is on the stage. You assume these are the council members of the library. Shortly after they enter, Rendy kind of quickly hurries back and takes down the seat and hands Rambear the requested parchment and ink. Do you mind asking what for? I'm sure many people here are taking notes, but...
I just want to make a little banner to support Faendal. I just want to write, "You can do it, Faendal," and Rambear's just gonna like pour the ink over their paws and just like, scratch the parchment a few times, like, smearing it all over.
Roll me a dex check.
I would say, have we established whether Rambear can write yet?
No. Oh dang! It's a nat 20.
Considering you cannot write, It is a artistic impression of support for Faendal.
Like Dignity on The Simpsons. You know, you see it and you're like, yeah, obviously that's Dignity.
Yeah.
Obviously that's supporting Faendal. Okay.
It's clearly for Faendal from Rambear. And if he sees it, it will surely help him. And so at this point, there is you hear a knock in your head, Faendal.
Yeah.
Just nothing overly intimidating, just kind of like a standard door knock. And the door leading into where you enter kind of is unlatched.
I will stand up from a meditation and I will usher the peacock along beside me and enter proudly.
You enter into essentially a dimly lit theatre with a very well made wooden stage. You can't quite make out the dimensions of the room, but it's clearly big enough to hold a large number of people. Some 10, 15 feet diagonally from you, above you on the angle, you can see 10 figures, which evoke both no memory at all and a faint sense of recognition, in most of them anyway. Sorry, I feel like a sneeze coming up.
Come back.
In terms of who the figures you see, most importantly, there are two individuals at the centre. One is a human male in their mid-70s. Shoulder-length grey hair that's kind of been brushed back off their face and onto their shoulders. Thin lips and green eyes that are watching your kind of every step onto the stage, assessing your entire posture. And there's a distinctive birthmark on their left cheek. Next to them, on their right, is a relatively youthful-looking green Dragonborn. Vibrant green scales, and his cranial ridge has a number of kind of gold piercings in it. And on his right-hand side is a floating parchment and quill that is obviously kind of taking some scratch notes on what is happening. The rest of the panel, there is a middle-aged half-elven woman with short, sharply cut black hair. A older bronze dragonborn who sits in his chair, completely ramrod straight, very kind of military officer demeanour. There is a relatively young, olive-skinned male human with glossy black hair and a neatly groomed goatee. A small halfling woman with auburn curly hair and a set of glasses set on her nose. A human woman with long brown hair kept in braids and a ponytail, who you are very familiar with people who hold themselves as nobles, just in the way that she sits and her kind of command of the room, even amongst the company. A purple-skinned tiefling, absolutely bedecked in all kinds of jewellery and runes which work their way up her arm and just poke out from her neck. And the horns curl kind of forward and up over her head like that, forming almost like a crown of horns. And then the last two are a dark-skinned man with a completely shaved head and a number of geometric tattoos across the scalp. Clearly the youngest among the panel. And finally, a rather odd-looking humanoid. Mottled green skin, very long head that seems to sweep back as an extended cranium. Long black hair. You can't place the species. And he's just sitting in his chair with kind of fingers steepled in front of his face, kind of taking everything in. The human male, the 70-year-old at the centre, just speaks up and just goes, "We are here today to assess the expectation and the recommendation that this individual presented before us is the former Great Reader of the Serenity Library, one Faendal Rindolian. As it stands, there is no previous case for such an event, and the council today will make its decision based on the evidence presented by the individual and decide how to progress forward from there. Now, sir, my first question to you is, what proof do you have to confirm you are indeed Great Reader Rindolian?
May I first say that I take great umbrage at the idea that I would not be. I have my spellbook with me, same spellbook that I once used when walking these halls. And I show my blade, I believe I was known for at the library at one time, and I draw it. Present it.
Look down. The book. They're a short distance from you, and they kind of look down. A number, kind of looking down. The Tiefling speaks up and just goes, "There is no proof that that book is yours. You could have found it on a corpse somewhere of the true Rindolian and assumed his identity."
Suppose that would be true, and that I know of the code within its pages, and I can read the book as from the book itself. Not just any old commoner pick up a book and do such a thing.
The green Dragonborn, kind of you see a small curling smirk on his face. He goes, "That is indeed true. Reader Rindolian was known for his ciphers, although I suppose any committed and individual enough would eventually break them, but in a year I find it difficult to believe." The Tiefling kind of turns their nose up a little bit at the incredulity. The Dragonborn looks down and just goes, "Do you mind if I take a closer look at the book?"
If you insist, I will mage hand it over.
Halfway up from Mage Hand, you feel essentially a telekinesis take it of his own accord. And just starts. You notice he's very respectful in not touching the book himself. It maintains floating and just pages turning loosely, casually.
It's appreciated. I give her respect.
It is certainly plausible that this is Rindolian's book. Assuming it's not a fluky forgery. You see a number of them kind of just nod and consider things for a second. The upright bronze Dragonborn just stares down, just like, "Books are all well and good, but many here are in possession of them. Many around the world. Faendal was famed for uniquer things that showed him apart. Anything else?"
I find this whole process tedious, but I'll slam my staff and cast Wall of Fire behind me. But using a little bit of flavour, not casting it in a specific manner, but if I can have it roll through the different types of elements, just like a sheet, or sideways. I believe that I am quite famous for my ability to manipulate the very fabric of the weave. Few here were as experts as I was in the nature of magic itself.
There are audible gasps from the gallery at just the bold confidence to unleash.
It's tamed. It's not reaching anything. It's just a pure aesthetic.
And the firelight, as it shifts through various different forms, kind of catches the light on the presented council. Some remain in kind of deep thought. Others take an assuming visage of faint recollection of some kind of that ability. Okay. The original male just kind of calms everyone down just with a hand gesture, and stares at you, just going, kind of nods to kind of signify that such an act is a decent enough representation you can possibly finish.
It will slowly burn out again.
If you so claim to be Master Rindolian, where have you been? What caused you to disappear? Tell us the story behind your return.
I have spent much of the last year travelling. A party of dear friends now that are up in the gallery. Prior to that, I'm afraid I cannot tell. And I'll see the banner as give a smirk to it, and then return to a very tense and not very pleased face. Prior to that, I cannot tell. Whatever caused my disappearance also caused me to lose many of my memories. And I've until recently, I was not even aware of my identity as reader of the library. I only had vision. Brief flash in my time here.
The halfling woman with the auburn hair speaks up and goes, "You expect us to believe one of the great readers famed for their research and knowledge and memory just so happened to forget all of that for a convenient year?"
I will say that it was definitely not convenient, thank you very much. Would you find it convenient to lose 700 years of your life? No. You are already dead.
Whereabouts are we in relation to Faendal?
A short, like you can see him clearly. For a decent approximation, Stephen, think the theatre at school. You're kind of mid-back, essentially.
Can I just sort of, I'm just going to yell out, or say out, Faendal, your box. See if that, because I'm assuming he's forgotten about it already.
The figurehead says, "Quiet, please." The message didn't get out.
Yeah. Thank you, but my friends just mentioned I do have a box, a person that still affects my memory somehow. We're all talking about it just before this meeting, and yet I've forgotten about it just then. If I may present that.
You can see a level of trepidation across their faces. A spellbook is one thing, but a mysterious box that you keep forgetting about. The dark-skinned man, the older man turns to the dark-skinned man and she goes, "Tell us, please, take a closer look and tell us what you can tell from it." He gets up from his seat and actually makes his way down to the stage to you. She goes, "Sir, may I see the box, please?"
I will present the box, and I will hesitatingly report the last time I attempted to experiment and find out things about this box. It was painful.
Do you mind me asking what you were attempting? The process that you took?
It's fuzzy. I remember the day very clearly, but it's fuzzy. I believe I tried to open the box.
Takes the box from you, and casts essentially a detect magic spell, followed by an identify spell over it. And you can see an immediate level of concern cross his face. And without saying anything out loud, he turns to the central figure and just kind of relays a message of some kind, of what you're not certain, before kind of handing it back very trepidatiously. He just goes, "I recommend not trying to open that until you are certain you will." As he heads back up to the actual seat that he sat in, he talks to the rest of them. He says, "From what I could discern, there is a faint aura of beguilement upon that box, although it does not seem to issue from the box itself, possibly from what is contained within. I strongly recommend not opening it in this situation, but it may provide greater evidence if this council has doubts moving forwards."
And I was beginning to get visibly impatient.
The human woman, with a very noble look and the braided brown hair, she leans relatively casually, and just kind of looks you up and down a second. He goes, "Good sir, my experience of Master Indolan in the past was he was a diligent researcher and often quite buried in his works. If you are indeed such an individual, do you care trying to tell us what you were researching at the point of your disappearance?" Before you have a chance to answer, the head of the council speaks up and just goes, "Before we continue a line of questioning, good sir, would you consent to a casting of the spell known as Zone of Truth?"
I mean, I find it quite inept that it hasn't been cast already. I'm being blunt.
We are not inclined to cast such things without the aforementioned request of permission of the individual.
I understand the consent, but the idea of asking questions before doing it. Yes, you may cast Zone of Truth. Leave this thing alone.
You see an individual come out from the side. It's not one of the councillors, and they cast what I don't think any of you would recognise as Zone of Truth, because I don't think anyone's cast it. You can technically cast it, but has never cast it. You can choose to fail the charisma save, or you can roll for it if you would like to.
No reason to lie.
You feel it wash over you. You are aware that you can no longer lie, but you can avoid answering, should you so wish. The old gentleman then nods to the woman and just goes, You were saying, Kazrin? Sorry. Yes. So, what was Faendal's field of research in particular at the time of his disappearance?
Well, I don't precisely recall the details, the minutiae of what I was researching. As previously stated, I have lost my memories. But I am aware, at least, that I was looking for a lost librarian. Enter librarian here.
The Library of Eritrea.
Eritrea?
You see a couple of them. The Tiefling, definitely. The Halfling woman and the Half-Elf woman. All kind of smirk derisively at the comments of that.
And I would take great insult if people were to mock that line of research. In the last year, I've found 2 previously lost libraries. So I think they're pretty effective at finding.
You say that you don't. So, well, that's certainly interesting. Where were these lost libraries? Out of curiosity.
That is information I shall divulge when my identity is confirmed.
Some things never change.
Very, very impatient.
Final question from me, and I'll let my colleagues take the floor. You say you don't remember anything leading up to your disappearance and the period afterwards. Have you attempted anything at all to regather those memories other than walking around Ocalion for a year?
Been around Ocalion for a year has helped me recover memories. Relearning my casting and deciphering my spellbook has assisted, as has many adventures we have been on. But we've been quite busy. I haven't really had time to delve into it.
She just nods and then just kind of waves her time, essentially, to the others. At that point, the half-elf speaks up. Bear with me, I've got 1,000 notes in. Yes, kind of short, sharply cut black hair with bangs. She kind of gives you a stern look. She goes, I mean, there are obvious ways to prove who you are or to attempt to get your memories back. I think a greater restoration spell is usually sufficient to return an individual's memories. End this whole sham and get on with our lives. Roll me an insight check. All of you can if you want.
Ooh. I don't need it, but I do get a +4, +D4 on that. So that's a 30.
can tell she very much doesn't like you, and from that level of check, it does not. It extends beyond just this meeting. She has a deep-seated grudge against you, or at least the person by the name of Faendal Reuploaded.
This isn't the person who took my place, is it?
No.
Like, I'm going to say it.
No, you would know that. You were told the person who took your place is Telash Voshte, which is the man who inspected the box. The dark-skinned man with geometric tattoos.
He was very polite and nice. That's it all. Right, more.
Well,
I would consent to a great restoration path, but I'm not sure that would exactly prove anything.
if I'm right in my accord, it would, if it worked, provide you with your memories. If it fails to work, you clearly have not forgotten anything.
I find your argument to be extremely fallacious. If it works, that would be great, but I do not believe that anything short of a wish would be proof.
Roll me a persuasion check.
I think we rolled insight before that, didn't you? 18 anyway. Yeah, that default.
The dark-skinned man that was called Telash speaks and goes, well, if my theory is correct, I would possibly recommend not such a course of action. I believe the affliction on this individual is greater than that, if I am indeed correct.
So I am seconded. If you wish to waste some of your own personal diamond dust, feel free.
You can. The old gentleman speaks up and just goes, Now, we will not have dissent on this council. If Master of Oshte believes such a thing might be a negative course of action, let's not rush into hasty decisions. There is still much we can question. So, sir, let's be blunt. As far as you are aware, who are you? What brought you here, and for what purpose have you come to Kirond?
I would prefer not to divulge our purpose on Kirond, at least not at this time. I am Faendal Rindolin, former reader at this library. I have lived longer than any of you, lived multiple lifetimes. I have memories of my life as a sailor. All my memories are not fully formed. I remember great sadness and trauma from my time as a sailor. And I remember leaving my life behind and taking the journey alone to this island of Druid, crossing the sea many centuries ago. I know that I was old for a student at this library, but my stubbornness and perseverance brought me higher up, and I delved more into my research than any here. And I'll be honest, I think that my stubbornness beats yours, and regardless of your outcome, I will be getting in my library. I will be finding out more about myself. Oh, I'll do a great speaking display of, like, almost threatening an intimidation.
Yeah.
roll me a persuasion or intimidation check, your choice.
And if I draw my blade and go and cast Sense Transformation, do I get advantage?
You will have advantage on intimidation.
So I draw my blade, and as I cast the spell, the agency gains its youth back from a surprising amount of muscle, stands up a solid inch or two taller, and the blade reforms. Beautiful, very unique blade that looks almost like it's made of water. And he points it forward and says that he tore an oath blade. I can't remember. That was a very serious oath to myself. That oath that lasted half a millennia. And now I swear another oath that I will get in my library, regardless of your decision. And I do not break oaths. Advantage on the intimidation.
Yeah.
But 16. Why is Rambear making a dex save?
Nat 1 in there. Good thing you had advantage.
Oh, Rambear make a dex save for some reason. Just popped up.
I was asked for dex save earlier. Well, I was asked for dex check for the thing. I accidentally cast a save.
Just popped up in my notifications. I was like, has Rambear been attacked for a sign?
There is an immediate hush to the room, and all of the council just kind of stare determinedly at you. There is a palpable tension as you are there in transcendent form. And then after a brief moment of hush, various council members all kind of look at each other on and off, and whispers get passed up and down that you can't quite hear. Numerous scribblings on the parchment next to the green Dragonborn before he eventually stands up and just goes, "Well, that was certainly a impassioned speech you gave, sir. I do believe you have no need for such a visage anymore if you care to return to normal."
I will keep the transformation up for now.
Okay.
Last for 10 minutes. And, you know,
the central member of the council kind of stares at your decision to keep it up, and a completely impassive face, determining his opinion on it is inscrutable. Green Dragonborn kind of neatens out the robes, and then turns to the rest of the council and just goes, "The council will convene to discuss the decision that will be made here and the ramifications thereof. Those who have attended may depart. There will be a 10-minute recess when we will reconvene to deliver judgment." And with that, all 10 of them stand up and begin to filter out again. The varying different members who had been sitting in the gallery also begin to filter out. Rendy turns to the rest of you and just goes, "Shall we head down and meet with Faendal? Plenty to discuss, I believe." She stands up, kind of straightens out her own robes, and then begins to head off. You head down the stairs. Faendal, you exit towards the door that you entered. you're met at the door by your friends and Rendy. And I think there is where we will take a break. See you in a short while. And we'll see what Faendal's impassioned speech may have led to.
Faendal.
Did
To the break and find out.
Faendal just like accidentally declared war on Jeremiah?
Oh well.
I wasn't intending to do that. I just wanted to get a spell.
Anyway, I will see you in a bit. Welcome back, everyone. Hope you're enjoying your pizza. Those of you who are having pizza and the ramen for the bear.
To eat while we played, I was just hungry.
No, it's perfectly fine. It's perfectly fine. Yes, so we left off as the council convened to discuss the evidence put forward by Faendal himself, that he is in fact the former Great Reader, whether he has the memories of it or not. And you have met up just outside all together with Rendy Casono. What would you like to do?
Well, as Faendal approaches them, he will drop the spell and make a con save.
Oh, yeah,
And
it's nice, isn't it?
And will immediately... Oh god, I clicked it twice again. Failed it again. And will immediately be exhausted. And kind of almost collapsing on himself. That took a lot out of me.
You don't seem to like it very much.
I don't see why not. I'm a very likable person.
Are you exhausted?
Exhausted.
Rambear's gonna cast Greater Restoration.
To cure what effect?
His exhaustion.
There is
Do
me
you
trying to fix his memory.
Just checking if she was trying. They were trying. So.
That is very much appreciated.
Make sure you check off the 100 gold pieces worth of diamond dust.
Oh yeah, that's. I think. I'll have that.
A very expensive, nice gesture.
Yeah, I forgot that was expensive.
Well, I believe that went as well as could be expected.
As well. Paragon Stone. Weekend. Maybe.
Randy, you know the council, I assume. You think that went well?
It's hard to tell. There are those on the council that would surely like to believe this. They were friends of Faendal after all, and quite close with him. There are those who, regardless of the facts, are more inclined to probably deny the evidence based on their own personal tendencies. I mean, you saw you saw a lie. She clearly showed her dislike of the man.
Yeah.
Her opinion on his research was quite well known, as was Sylvia, although she seemed to restrain herself relatively well, other than a minor outburst initially.
I'm not sure I care much for their opinions of me. I just need them to make a decision soon, so I know whether
I'll be honest,
their permission or not.
that attitude you took probably helped sway those of the more balanced mindset. It's safe to say, at least in demeanour and personality, you embody Master Endolian.
What's that supposed to mean?
He's an arrogant asshole like you are.
I prefer self-assured.
Arrogant.
headstrong.
Rambear's holding a thesaurus.
Rambear can read but can't write.
Yeah, that's canon. We know Rambear can read.
They can read Druidic for sure.
She basically just can't hold a pen.
No.
Teach Rambear.
Although it does look like beautiful calligraphy.
Yeah, I know, right?
Dip the claw in ink.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
what she did. That's what she did.
It's go Faendal, go. Really, obviously. What else would it be?
Faendal understood. Faendal got the intention. Don't worry.
It's in Druidic, which is why none of us can understand it.
That's Rambear's excuse every time. It's in Druidic. You get it.
Damn it, I really wanted to see Emma snort beer out of her nose, because that would have been hilarious.
Oh, painful. Yeah. Rambear's already celebrating. I'm really certain Faendal's gonna get through. Gonna pass his test.
How long do you think it will take for them to make their decision?
Well, Junusi is not prone to making rash decisions. He will listen to the evidence and opinions of the entire council before asking them to put it to a vote. At that point, regardless of those abstaining, any decision requires a greater than 50% approval. Junusi himself offers the swaying vote in the event of an exact 50.
I will wait patiently out of respect. I warned you before. I will not be waiting long.
They are intelligent individuals. They shouldn't take more than an hour tops, but we shall see.
If they decide that Faendal isn't Faendal, is there any way to appeal?
I mean, this hasn't exactly happened before. Appeals, yes. Although I fear realistically the only success you would have is with his fully returned memories to prove it. I think the sticking point largely right now is the fact that he has no memory of his time here or what happened to him to cause his departure. So, without that knowledge, it's up in the air.
What if we found out what happened to Faendal?
It may help.
Would we be allowed to try to access his living quarters?
It wouldn't surprise me if... Well, let's put it this way. If they don't believe he says who we all think he is, there is not a strong chance he will be allowed to walk up to one of the tops of the vaulted towers and attempt to access a former reader's room. Of course, they may use it as a final piece of evidence. We have a lot of questions and not a lot of answers right now. Let's put it that way.
Same.
Oh. Not much to do but wait now. And unless there is anything people particularly want to accomplish, you do wait, and it's only 20-25 minutes before you begin to hear kind of hustle and bustle. I can't think of the exact terminology I want, coming from inside the council chambers. Rendy turns to Faendal and goes, well, wouldn't surprise me if a decision is made. Do you want to face them alone, or have others with you?
I would like my friends beside me.
Very well. Good luck. She heads off to head up towards the gallery again because she's still vested. And you are left to enter the room of your own accord.
And I will enter. If everyone will follow me.
We'll follow.
You all filter in, and at the point you enter, the council itself hasn't returned, but you can kind of hear by the noise of people up the top that people are entering in, so it seems that word has spread that they've made their decision and are heading back here. There's a brief wait on stage before the figures in their green and white robes filter in and take up their station. They do not sit. And the green Dragonborn begins to speak. We met here today to assess the evidence on the proposal that the former Master Rindolan of the library here has in fact returned after being believed dead for over a year. Has returned to claim his position upon the council. The evidence presented in this here room was discussed and analysed by the council before a vote was taken. The numbers read: abstain 2, against 2, for 6.
Oh, what?
Conditions of this approval are yet to be fully agreed upon. However, the agreement of the Keeper of Tomes and the council itself is that Master Rindolan, as we now believe him to be, will be permitted access to their former sanctum, and should they indeed be able to access the room, records shall show that this individual is Master Rindolan, and the consequences thereof will be discussed upon further meetings with the council. If there are no objections from the gallery, this meeting is adjourned. And all of them begin to filter out. You see a number of them kind of linger on each of you. Not in a kind of judgy way, but in an almost like a scientist seeing something new kind of way. Like there's a chance to learn something kind of viewpoint. A lot of interest in you, Thrungi, just due to your kind of outward appearance. It's fairly obvious.
Thrungi, a maniacal grin back.
Are you trying to intimidate?
Yeah.
Roll intimidation.
My intimidation sucks, if I remember correctly. Oh, it's not that bad. 18.
18. The two of them, the bronze dragonborn and the halfling woman with auburn hair, kind of see that and just go, okay, best not push too hard. However, the first reader, the green dragonborn, kind of looks you up and down, just goes, like it was an almost a vindication in his thought process. A couple kind of are intrigued by the actual bear on stage as well, just as a curious entity, but procedure dictates that they leave at this point, so they're all heading out of the room, except for as all of them finish heading off, the green dragonborn does finish and then turn around to walk up to you. She goes, well, welcome back, Faendal. At least for now. I'm going to assume you don't remember me at all.
All of big sense of familiarity, but I am unaware of our memories together.
A shame. Used to enjoy our times together. I suppose I better introduce myself again, at least. Skoda Valanster.
Now shake his hands. May I assume we were good rapport?
Fairly decent, yes. While I may have questioned your methods sometimes, and the avenues of interest, I always respected your drive.
It's good to have another idea.
Indeed. As it is, I feel it best to be the one to show you to your former sanctum, and hope indeed that this is proof enough to allay any final concerns. Before we do head off, is there anything else you would like to cover? Your fellows, do they need anything?
Continue.
I was also to understand there was another member of your party. At least there was another individual in certain events that happened last evening.
Oh, last evening. I thought you meant Ram.
Rambear.
You had a
Ramgoat is Ram is elsewhere, remember?
Yeah.
We had another ally with us. Ben's a very fascinating fellow, but he's here on different business to us. We've only recently made his acquaintance, and he will not be joining us in my tower as yet.
Understandable. Well, shall we head off then?
We shall.
Excellent.
May I inquire as to the kinds of troubles we've had getting into on the tower?
Quite simply, the door refuses to open for any of us, and despite concerted magical efforts to remove such an enchantment, it seems somewhat stubborn. A great embarrassment to us, but standard convention is sanctums are left for a century upon the death of the reader anyway. We are not too concerned in the immediacy. Give it 100 years, if we still can't get in, that would have been a problem.
I will take it as a testament to my skill.
Certainly. Very well. Come. He begins to lead you out of the primary hall, back along the path. You're surprised how much time has passed at this point. Like, the sun has kind of gone way past noon, and you're into middle of the afternoon at this point. As you're kind of heading, weaving between towers, and just the light is beginning to take on that kind of more orangey hue as it dances across the tower walls. I must say, your return has set much theory discussions travelling around the library. It was nice to hear some of the classics from when you first disappeared. Varying degrees of return to military service and teleporting accidentally into the middle of the ocean, lost within the library beneath. In fact, is a fairly popular one. Although the idea that you were down there for a year and a half, I still find quite unbelievable. But people
not implausible.
Depends on the supplies you have stashed down there, I suppose. There are many librarians who seek to store the food down there, knowing that they may be down there a few hours. But tell me while we walk. I know plenty about you, Faendal, but what have you been up to for the past year? How did you meet these fine fellows? They seem to have as interesting stories as yourself. The Dwarf, especially. I have never seen such a distinctive attire in person before.
I pray you never do.
I must say, it has long been a question of mine behind the origins of that tradition. If I'm not too insulting to inquire behind.
You haven't asked a question yet.
Very well, if you wish me to be more blunt. The origin of your oath. I do not presume for you to tell me the story behind your own upkeep, your own story behind it, but perhaps the significance and import behind it would be of much interest to me, and I'm sure many others here in the library. The purpose behind it, the kind of events that can lead one to take such an extreme course of actions.
Read the tale I gave, you'll know. But the short answer is when life was lost where it could have been saved.
I have... My intrigue remains, but I can tell that it is a story left unresolved for now, and I know better than to pry.
As I said, listen to the tale I gave. That should answer some of your questions.
I shall. Thank you.
I was very shyly going to turn to Thrungi and ask, can we read the tale you told?
You can read Dwarvish.
You could read.
It's at this point that Skoda mentions, just like, if I remember the record upon your entry, you may have given your story in Dwarvish. That does not necessarily mean it was recorded in Dwarvish, good sir.
Guys can't record keep correctly.
We record keep as per our own traditions.
It loses its nuance.
What is the point in remembering a story if you do not remember it as it was given?
Oh, believe me, it will have been recorded in Dwarvish as well, but we have people from all over. We must cater to all kinds.
Language is a construct for wizards.
Aye, but the cant is not.
I'm sure those who have recorded the story have taken due care. It is not the first dwarven story we have had. Anyway, yeah, kind of quickly just angles away from the dwarf that he thinks he may have annoyed. And you arrive at a fairly nondescript tower, compared to the rest anyway. They're all fairly similar. And you begin walking up an awful lot of stairs, passing a small array of books on the bottom floor, and then as you're kind of winding up this spiraling staircase, there are corridors that branch off into what you see as kind of dormitories, essentially. You see the odd member of the library going in and out of doors. Not a lot. They seem for the most part out and doing their jobs. And it is a long climb. About halfway up, you kind of all take a break. So just like, yeah, there's a reason we built the walkways in between the tops of the towers. For those of us who live up in the top, it was an awful lot of effort going up and down. But, I suppose a break is as good a time as any, if anyone has any final questions. If not, we can keep going.
Is it... If we... Faendal wouldn't have done this. Faendal wouldn't have made it dangerous. Right? But if he did, can we, say, teleport from the tower? Would there be anything that could stop us? Any magic in place that could stop us?
Well, we haven't come across any yet that has intentionally tried to harm any of us, although I will admit we haven't tried excessively hard to access the Sanctum tradition and wizard secrets and all that. It's entirely possible. Faendal was an intelligent man and more than capable of engineering magical defenses that maybe perhaps wouldn't have triggered if his fellow readers attempted to come knocking, but if unknown individuals tried to access or interrupt him, maybe they would have.
I make no promises about peaceful nature for myself.
We've all seen you spellcasting.
Though I don't could cause unnecessary. I feel it was unlikely that I would have made any traps deadly, at the very least.
I guess we'll see.
Peaceful person.
Indeed we will, although by the looks of you, I'm sure we'll be fine. I mean, I certainly hope that maybe the traps wouldn't trigger on Faendal. Would seem a bit illogical, if you ask me.
Would not surprise me.
Excuse me either.
Did Skoda say that
Stop like the car, yeah.
that there were rumours that Faendal had returned to the military?
Rumour might be a strong word, a theory. In
Is
the
that-
early months where he disappeared, discourse was rife, and no one exactly had any evidence.
Does that mean that he was once part of the military?
Oh yes, he regularly talked about it with Reader Ulchrist. about his days in the Forlond Navy. Was a captain of a ship, in fact, before he decided upon a new career path and came over here and worked his way up the ranks.
I knew I captained the ship. I didn't know it was quite so serious.
Well, it's not often you learn something new about yourself that's old, but there you go. Centre of learning in the world. Might as well learn something. Come. Anyway, let's carry on before it gets dark. Anyway, you begin climbing up the stairs again. And as you begin nearing the top, Skoda turns to you and goes, I don't suppose you mind leading, just in case.
Seems like a sensible idea.
I'll be right behind you, just in case. But appreciate it.
I may also take some precautions myself, though I trust myself to have been smart enough to not to create some exceptions. But I'll cast it down on myself.
Very well. Hopefully that's not useful, but we shall see. You begin heading up the stairs. Who is following directly behind Skoda?
I would like to be able to spam Faendal with resistance. So every minute I'm just reaching around Skoda and like tapping him.
Okay, so you're directly
Reaching
behind.
around Skoda and tapping him.
You begin to kind of see the top of the staircase. And it's at that point you begin to hear Rambear, a very loud, snarling dog start just barking from up the top of the stairs. You can't see any dog, but it is a threatening, angry dog, just barking away.
So I have like my ability as a druid, Circle of the Shepherd druid, is that I can talk with animals.
Okay.
I try and just be like, "Hey, buddy!"
It doesn't seem to respond directly, and you don't hear language, essentially, to the point you don't quite understand. It's not speaking.
Right. And it's like, oh,
Faendal, you are not hearing this, by the way.
Oh.
And in front of you, Rambear, Skoda himself doesn't seem to be reacting to anything either.
So we just hear Rambear from behind us call out for no reason.
You know when you see a puppy, you're like, "Oh, he's a good boy. He's a..." So that.
Rambear,
You stop.
you okay?
Yeah. I'm just getting it to. I'm trying to get it to calm down. It's got a weird accent though.
Get what to calm down?
That's a good question. I think wolf, dog, wolf, puppy, oh, a little puppy.
Where? I see
Upstairs.
nothing.
Can you not hear it?
I hear nothing. Why would there be a dog here?
You do have very small human ears, but like it's. Come on.
Did I- Hello? Sorry, what? I'm an elf.
Oh, small half elf. Oh, elf ears, yeah. You, Chris, have small human ears.
I do not.
I'm gonna turn behind me. Do you guys hear that?
Due to the fact you've all stopped on the stairs, no.
Nothing.
Rambear, roll me a... Bear with me. Need to double check.
With you.
Yes,
Thank you, Stephen.
Dumb puns. I love them.
I mean, if it's a perception or like wisdom thing,
Make
Rambear's
me
pretty
an
happy.
investigation check, please.
What if Rambear's just... No, Rambear would be confused. Investigation check. I am so smart. It's so much 8.
8. You are certain there is a dog up there.
Alright, you guys are just punking with me. God, there's a dog. Alright, we can keep on going. There's a dog up there. And you're trying to keep it a surprise.
She'll continue, but someone keep an eye around there.
Would it make you feel better if I got some dogs of our own?
No, I'm worried that you'll find some way to wander off.
We're in a staircase. Where can I go? Rambear's
Yeah.
already looking around like, where's the dog?
You continue up the stairs, sorry.
Yes.
Cool.
Continue.
As Thrungi, Balthazar, and Nyah pass the point that Rambo was at, you also begin to hear the dog barking.
Oh wait, I hear it.
Yep,
You're right.
there is definitely a dog barking.
I still hear nothing. I'm sorry, but if I can hear it, I can't. There's something wrong. You're a human, you're small human, as the bear said.
Do you have a history of bad hearing, Faendal? I hear it happens once creatures get the grey hairs in their face.
I have nothing hearing.
I mean, trust me, I too am nowhere near as old as Master Indolian here, but I hear no dog.
Would Balthazar know that it's like it could be a magical effect?
Roll me an investigation check. Chris, what's your spell DC, by the way?
6.
17.
17.
Although, when
Sorry, I completely froze then.
Huh?
I completely froze then, so I missed what you said.
my DC is a 17, but I do have the ability to increase that by 2, and I feel that if this is protecting the sanctum-wise spells, then I would be extra strict and would do that.
Okay.
This is a protection, so I will honestly say that my DC is 19 for long-term spells. I've had time to prep.
I rolled a 6 on that investigation.
It sounds uncanny that there is a dog further up, and it is actually sounding like a dangerous animal. Like that, if you were to keep going, you might put yourself in a little bit of danger.
Okay.
Bryn?
It's definitely a scary dog.
Can't hear you. Nope.
You're muted, Bryn.
Yeah, I realised that halfway through. It was hiding in the whiteness. So I've rolled a wisdom check to see if Thrungi would just assume the obvious in that it's a spell and not a...
It would need to be an intelligence investigation check, not a wisdom check.
Oh, well, fine. That actually helps me better because I think I've actually... Oh, no, it's an 18.
18. You're not certain.
Thrungi assumes things are black or white, and he can see that the two magic users do not hear it, and everyone else does. So his assumption would be that it's only affecting people who are not of the library.
Well, it sounds really realistic, I think, is the point here.
Yeah, I'm kind of weighing it up. You may have that assumption, but it still does sound
Yeah.
real to you.
Do you know what I mean? Like, his assumption is it could be a real dog.
Your assumption with that logic is that the dog is real, but it wouldn't attack Faendal or Skoda. That's your logic currently.
But he already knows that those two can't hear the dog.
Exactly.
Because they've both said that.
Yes, I will also say you are not a person of magic. It's entirely possible there is a magic that exists that just wouldn't hurt two people but would hurt others, and that kind of logic. I'll agree you've put together the wizards won't be harmed by the fact they can't hear it.
Fine. Thrungi will probably just go, You idiots considered that it's something that only attacks those not of the library.
Well, it's a good thing we're in front. Stop it. I
If
do not hear
you
any
can't
dogs.
hear it, how are you going to stop it? Thrungi gently pushes Rambear behind him and just kind of gets his axe into a better position in case it's needed. And puts the beer tankard on his belt.
This makes Rambear like trying to pat Faendal almost impossible.
Yeah, it does.
Still have a resistance up, but
I think it's for 1 minute.
alright then, if you guys want to stay a little bit further behind then, allow us to investigate a little bit further.
Let's keep where we can see you at least.
Yeah.
Thrungi doesn't stay any further back.
Does he keep following?
Yep.
Okay. You continue heading up. The rest of them seem to stay where they are. Thrungi follows in behind the two wizards. And you eventually see them kind of crest the landing. Thrungi, as you're about 5 feet from the top of the landing, as you've seen those two kind of crest over and hit the landing point, suddenly you hear as a large stone door kind of comes down in front of you, blocking you off from the wizards.
Thrungi just yells, "Well, that's fucking awesome."
Faendal, you turn around and you can see him.
What do you mean? Thrungi.
Fucking door! Or rather a stupid stone wall that any dwarf could knock down. I think you lot would be annoyed if I took my axe to it.
Walk down, Thrungi.
He walks back.
Yeah, I walk back down to Thrungi.
Okay, sorry. You see him pass through this stone wall.
Turn around and look.
Yeah, that's it.
What do you want about Thrungi? There's the stairs. Follow us.
Can I see Faendal just walk through it? What happens if I push my axe?
Your axe disappears behind the stone wall.
Cool, then I walk through.
Let's shout down for the other guys to just come up. Follow up.
Ignore the wall as a fucking fake.
If you see a wall, I have not seen a wall.
Okay, so maybe the plan's mechanism is just illusions?
I wouldn't just think that. But there's probably lots of solutions.
True.
You'll head up towards the still barking dog as far as you're concerned. And as you do approach the top of the steps, a similar kind of stone wall kind of crashes across your path. Almost like you see it like come down on towards Faendal, who's standing directly in the way. As it like begins to roll down and then just like, passes straight through him, and you can see like half of Faendal like he warped into the wall.
I'll just walk up. It's like, come on.
I'll cautiously like put my hand out, make sure it's not solid before I follow him.
Yeah, your hand just goes through.
That's all.
So I'm going to assume there were defenses of kind, but at least not dangerous. So. Well.
So, it reminded me of what
Sorry, what?
So, it reminded me of what my specialism was as a reader.
Your particular field or title within the readers was focused on magic items, curses, and the very fabric of magic itself.
So, not illusions.
Well, there isn't strictly a illusions master on the council. The closest probably would have been you, considering your affinity with the concept of magic.
I worry that illusions will be the least worse.
Well, let's certainly hope not. Anyway, in front of you is a rather simple wooden door painted black with iron kind of hinges on it and a lock. It, even without properly having to investigate a Faendal, it's very clearly enchanted in some way, like it is warded. What would you guys like to do?
Crowbar, crowbar,
It's a
crowbar.
fairly plain landing. Like the level of plainness seems to be almost intentional. Like it is very much that it's a space that can get reused by people in future, and that it's what's within the door is what is essentially yours at that point.
Crowbarring my door.
Should you not try the door first?
I will try the door.
You go. There is a key lock, but you immediately just go to try the handle on it, and you turn the handle, and it doesn't open straight away. But Skoda gives a I mean, if anything, that's progress. None of us have been able to turn the handle. So... any other ideas? Don't suppose you've got a key on you?
If so,
What about your sword?
find a sword.
The broadness of the blade on your sword would not fit that keyhole.
I just create items on the key. I think I've done that before, haven't I? I've like had a keyhole and just gone, oh, here's a key. And it's not worked.
That is indeed correct. Tell you what, roll me. Roll me a history check.
Uh, 15.
Wow, that's fucking low for you.
Very poor. Oh,
Fortunately for you, the DC was 15. I've forgotten how high your history was. You fashion a key. It is an arbitrary key, as far as you're concerned. It's just what your brain thinks of when you think of a key that will fit that lock. Almost by fluke, it seems to fit and turn. Like something from in your head.
I feel like I wouldn't make it difficult for myself to like my own table. So the key turns the lock.
Yeah, clunk. You hear a very small lock kind of shift across, and then you just got this iron handle.
Sarcastically go, I can't believe you guys didn't even try a key. I jest.
He doesn't. He actually means it.
Believe me, I know.
And I open the door.
He goes, just give me a second. And he very quickly kind of casts a quick spell, and you recognise it. It's a clairvoyance spell, or a version of it. Just for evidence. Just for those who are going to question it later.
Like clairvoyance with the recorder.
Yeah. And
Excellent.
you turn the handle, and the door opens. Inwards.
That was easy. Really easy.
Easy for the person who's meant to be in there.
Everyone else sees the door open.
Yes.
I walk in.
Do you all follow?
Yeah.
Faendal, what does your study look like?
Ooh. I should spend more time having a full picture of this.
In my defense, I did warn you about this 3 weeks ago.
It's relatively simple, actually. Everything's very nice, honestly, high quality. A large armchair near a still roaring fire. Bookshelves are lining every wall. Sort of TARDIS like, though, you wouldn't think that this would fit inside the tower. Like, it's very, very spacious and semi-circular, which is essentially way. And there's windows at each kind of direction, which weirdly fit the outside of the tower, so that you can see the same thing from two windows that you shouldn't really be able to see. Everything is lovely shades of red and also gold. The armchair is a very rich red with gold trim. And a very nice, large size mirror. Well, if we're facing east wall.
Sorry, what was that
Very-
on the northeast wall?
It's a very large mirror.
Mirror.
Human side mirror. Mirror very satisfying. All in all, relatively simple. Maybe a coat rack style thing near the door. And next to that solitary armchair, table, and then a wine tray, whatever it's called, plus.
That is how you remember your study as you walk in. However, much of the neatness and presentable nature of it is buried under a mess of broken bookshelves, scattered spell components, numerous magical burn marks that kind of score the stonework and the floor. There is no light on in here. The ever-lit fireplace is much reduced, barely even burning coals. There are reams of paper kind of scattered about, kind of discarded from the on top of a kind of study bench. The wine decanter sitting by the armchair has been tipped over, thankfully unbroken, but wine stain has spread across the rug over there. At the centre of the room, kind of at the centre of this kind of disruption, lies more serious damage marks, and most noticeably of all, a intriguing staff that you're not sure if you remember, Faendal, but it lies here nonetheless, and obviously was yours, therefore. The staff is a kind of grey and cerulean painted wood, and a small ivory dragon claw tops it.
We'll walk over and grab the staff. We'll follow into the room.
Well, certain something happened here. Although it doesn't exactly answer the myriad of extra questions it's asked even. I need to relay the proof that you've actually been able to access your sanctum back to Janusi and the others. I will leave you to tidy up and remind yourself. Hopefully something comes back. If you need me, just find me. And he kind of nods and heads out the doorway. He has to bend over a little bit. He's relatively tall. And then seems to head off. You're left alone in Faendal's study.
You can't hear the barking anymore.
No, all of those kind of illusions seem to have faded upon entering the room.
What?
A lot easier than expected to get in.
Makes sense. You would make it easy for yourself. Did you have a fight in here?
Is Sarah dying?
Yes.
Oh, I
Oh no!
Quick, Stephen, get the diamonds. We're gonna need it.
Again.
You good?
Sorry.
may I pick staff in the center of the room?
You pick it up. It doesn't trigger a trap or anything like that. It's not fake. You now have 2 staffs. The new one you've picked up, definitely magical.
Just from looking at it, just like, yeah, this is. I'll go that way. Rambear, do you want to put my other staff and the staff in the bag of holding? Keep all of this one.
Dwarf goes in with the shark.
No.
Too late.
Be a nice to you,
Oh.
No. We have specified that in order to give it to the shark, I think you have to mentally give it to the shark, just on how bags of holding work.
Sure.
I don't think you can just like destroy magic item that easily, can you? So it's like a chew toy.
Your
Magic
staff,
shark.
Your staff is not a magic item. You're all staff anyway.
It is.
Is it?
The staff of protection, that's how I catch mage armor.
It is. Sorry, carry on.
Are you sure you shouldn't keep a hold of this,
It would
Faendal?
be a fairly tough chew stick.
I've already cast mage armor on myself today, so if I need it again, I'll try out. I'm curious about this stuff. It hasn't immediately cursed it. And what we're able to do here, can I press the digitation of the fire to be big again?
Yes, that does instantly take.
This is. So maybe I'd have information on spheres here or something. But
There are scattered paperwork and notes everywhere. There is bookshelves with books.
Can I grab some off one of the desks and see what they're about?
Sure, roll me an investigation check.
3.
3. You pick up one book, which just so happens to be a book on the geometrical design of the planes, written by one Faendal Rindolian.
Oh, this is one of yours. I'm too stupid to comprehend it.
can I read it?
You can. It is basically a textbook that you created, discussing the theoretical design of the planes and how they interact and their constant overlaps. It proposes multiple different topologies that they could exist in, with no clear, defined agreement.
Faendal would totally be one of those professors who forces you to buy their own book for their course in order to pass.
I mean, Faendal isn't one of those professors who would teach other people.
Yeah, no, Faendal's a researcher.
But
Does
if he
Faendal
was,
do it?
I do agree with you.
Faendal has no need for money.
In fact, it's
Faendal-
been mentioned by Rendy that the guy who's currently got his job wanted to be trained by Faendal, and Faendal had no time for him.
What Faendal more likely would do is refuse to give you any textbooks and just say, work it out yourself. If you're truly smart enough, you can figure out why do you need textbooks. Do your research, but don't access the research.
Write your own books. Yeah.
Ironic that the 700-year-old guy has no time. This book is the Scaletrix book, yeah?
Yeah.
I don't even know what to do. This is a lot. think I'll sit down in my armchair.
Fair enough.
Sit for a moment.
Take a look around.
Correct the decanter.
It is empty. There's maybe a little dreg at the bottom of it, but it's drained out mostly.
Just straighten it.
Yeah, it's going to take some time to tidy this up, and probably a concerted effort to put everything back in its place, but there is a fair amount of stuff in here, full stop. There are a couple of chests that appear locked up by simple padlocks, just designed to kind of keep stuff secure and safe. Some shelves above that workbench containing a number of objects. There are a couple of scroll tubes, just like rolled across the floor, essentially. Yeah, there's varying things around. Is there anything anyone else would like to do while Faendal just kind of sits and mentally assesses it?
Any drawers that I can open and snoop around?
Roll
You
me,
guys are around my friend.
Yeah.
roll me an investigation check.
My personal belonging.
Yeah. We're your personal friends. That was a nat 20.
I was just about to say it's looking that you guys are blind, but never mind.
Snoop talent.
Yeah, you just
One
kind of
thing
start methodically going through things, essentially. Just like picking up reams of paper, sticking them into piles. They're not organized piles; they're just piles
She's
of
like me
paper.
at the same time.
You find a large chest that probably contains something, but you currently don't have a way to open it. You find a frankly ridiculous amount of magical components. Just by your largely untrained eye, if you have need of material components that don't require monetary value, you can have. You are well stocked. You find a couple of potions, one of which kind of is a odd-looking liquid. The jar itself seems to have like a coating of frost around it, and you think you can see something kind of floating in it. It looks like a toenail.
Ew.
It's a good push.
Yeah, it's pretty much a clear liquid, but you can see like a very large toenail or something like it in it, and the whole thing is kind of very cold to hold on to. You also find a couple of potions that have the same kind of consistency of health potions, but are blue, not red.
I have some under.
May do, I don't know.
Hmm?
I don't know what's in your inventory.
Potions of replenishment?
Yes.
Okay, so you recognize them.
Yeah.
So I bought them.
They are those. You find a number of spell scrolls. You don't understand them at all. And without prying too much, there may be other things to find. I know you've got a natural 20, but you can't be everywhere. You also, while looking over the desk and looking over those potions, you come across a contraption. It got buried in like a couple of books, essentially. Quite a weird looking contraption. It's got kind of like a few arms to it, and like a rotating bottom bit that the arms can spin on and move around. It could possibly hold something maybe a couple of inches in diameter, maybe cuboid shape. You're not really sure what it is, but it's there.
Faendal, I found your cake.
I'm not sure how I feel about you looting me.
Okay, but why do you have a toenail in a bottle?
Would I know what that is?
Roll me an Arcana
No.
check.
I don't know what that is in real life.
Is it Faendal's toenail? Do you have all your toenails?
I got that one.
That one. There are many potions that contain weird things and could be cold. You're gonna need to sit down and study that one a bit closer.
I haven't practiced alchemy in a while. Not in the last year, so sorry. Anyone else, Balthazar? You grew up with potion makers.
I can have a brief look.
Roll me an Arcana check.
Man, I've been rolling crap tonight. 6.
It's not something anyone you grew up with ever made.
Guess you're just gonna have to try it there.
I'm not gonna try your random potions.
I'm sure it wouldn't be dangerous. Actually, I'm not sure about
I
that
will
at
leave
all.
it to one side.
Can't be sure about anything.
Yes, I
Would you like,
can't understand them, but
would you like me to?
yeah, I'll hand them over to Faendal.
Okay. You can spend a bit of time going over the objects that she hands you. The potion is a potion of Frost Giant Strength.
I know that is good. Makes you stronger.
Ooh.
Thrungi's eyeing that up from across the room. It's like,
She also hands you the spell scrolls. Do you go through the spell scrolls?
yeah.
There is 5 undamaged ones, or at least unused ones, by some extent. Write these down for you. There is a scroll of Unseen Servant, Invisibility, Faithful Hound, Speedy Courier, and Skill Empowerment.
Are you gonna put them in the chat?
Yeah, I will.
I will remember that right now. That's some good ones. Unseen Servant will be helpful with this next. Right. Anyone else want to go rummaging through my personal belongings?
Rambear really does. But they're gonna look at there's damage in the room. It's like scorch marks or like grooves. Can Rambear investigate sort of
Sure.
what could have caused damage?
Roll me an investigation check.
It's another 8.
Most of the damage appears to be burn marks of some kind. It doesn't appear to be kind of slashing or breaking of things in like someone with a weapon was swinging around in here. You're unable to determine what would have caused them, but you're able to discern that it definitely wasn't weaponry that did anything.
And is there like the fire's on? Is there a nice rug in front of the fire?
Yeah, it's taken some damage, but there is enough of it there to constitute a rug.
Rambear's gonna plonk themselves down on the rug and just play with the little goat for a bit. The other guys have got this.
Nyah, was there anything else that you found?
You weird kinky machine.
What kinky machine?
Can I lift it up?
It's quite heavy, but yeah, you can move it off the desk.
I was like, ugh, and pump it in front of Faendal.
Can I possibly try and discern its use?
Roll me an Arcana check.
At 26.
It is technically magical. It's more magical to make it move rather than an inherent AI or anything kind of enchantment. Your best guess, based on the dimensions of it and the way it kind of articulates and moves, is that it is some kind of 26 a puzzle box solver. You can stick a puzzle box in it and it may provide aid in trying to solve it.
Why would I have a puzzle box solver?
What about your box?
Box?
If you can't open the box, maybe this can open it.
Yeah, my goddamn box. Yes, of course. My box.
While they're doing that, Ram.
Again, hadn't you?
So what was that, Bren?
You'd forgotten again.
Yes, I had. Admit.
Rambear, while they're doing that, you're kind of sitting around playing toys. You notice something that no one else has kind of referenced in the room. And you're surprised no one's referenced it, because it's a fairly nice looking thing. On the far wall from where you are sitting and doing things, there is a very thick royal purple curtain that goes from floor to ceiling, essentially, just like up against the wall. But like there is already the window over on that side of the room, and that curtain's not next to the window, over the window, or anything like that. There's just a curtain over there. It looks like you notice it, but at the same time you're kind of like, nah, and then you kind of turn away, but then you kind of drawn back to it a little bit. It's weird. It's like, you know how Faendal explained that the box seems to try to make him forget that it's there? It's very similar effect. You've got a decently high passive perception, so.
Thank you. If I know that thing. Amber's just gonna be like, yeah. Is that curtain weird? Does anybody else see it? Is that a weird curtain?
Curtain? You talk silly about that.
Can we turn and see the curtain?
Faendal, you're fairly made aware of it. It doesn't seem to have the same kind of effect on you.
Oh, okay.
The rest of you, it is very much like, yeah, there's a curtain there.
Is it not familiar to me? Is it weird?
You can't quite place its significance or anything like that.
Do I recognise it as part of what my study should be?
Roll a history check at disadvantage.
Well, neither of them are great. 17.
17. It doesn't seem out of place.
I mean, what's wrong with the curtain around there?
The curtain. Yeah, it's weird. I feel like it doesn't want me to know it's there. Do you guys get that? Do any of you guys get that? Very
Are
hostile.
we talking about a curtain?
Yeah, and Rambear's gonna try and point towards it. A little bit of difficulty. Yeah, that one.
The more that Rambear points it out, the kind of less of that forgetting effect seems to happen. Like you're actively having your attention drawn to it now.
Do we
I'm
just
just gonna-
move the curtain?
Look at the goat. And walk. If Balthazar's over there.
I'll try and pull back the curtain.
You move back the curtain, and behind it is a heavy-looking, solid iron door. Not wood reinforced with iron, pure iron.
Isn't this on the wall with the window?
Yep.
Windows
Magically?
don't have glass though, they're just open windows. They appear out.
It has a very thick lock, far thicker and more substantial than the one that was on the front door. And the lock itself, and a fair portion of the door, has runes carved into it that are very clearly magical in nature.
Faendal, do you know how to open this door? there's
I
another
mean, I was
lock.
going to put the box in the thing, but I can try to open the door first if you like.
I don't mind which way.
I'll set the box and puzzle solver on the side and go up to the door. And try to read the runes.
Roll me an Arcana check.
These are all good rolls today. And that one.
They are magical runes,
This
definitely
is my-
arcane.
This is my freaking specialism.
It's a lot of memories. It's a befuddlement right now.
Oh.
Can I read any of them?
Sure. What I will say, Faendal, while it is an actual one, you still end up on a 14. While you don't recognise them, your thought is also, it's possible there are notes on it amongst all of the other notes. You are a person who likes writing stuff down. It's possible you wrote stuff down. You haven't gone through any of your notes, but Balthazar, yeah, you can. Roll that kind of check.
15?
15. Some of them... It's hard to tell. You definitely can't tell what they do. You've been around Faendal fairly often, and he's occasionally pointed out runes. Like, there's ones on there that you notice kind of are tied with abjuration, there's ones that are tied with evocation. But you don't get much more than that.
I'll look for some notes. I'll start attempt to tidy up.
Roll me an investigation check.
Oh, I tell you what I'll do. I open the chest.
Okay.
Try to get access to the key. Didn't know if anything he's
Tell you what, roll me another history check. You're essentially trying to remember what key unlocks this chest from your mind that has blocked it.
that's right.
I was also going to say at disadvantage, but feck it, you're on natural 20, I don't care. It'll be good enough. Yeah, you can use create item to create the key. Again, it's not one of those things where you consciously form the key, just some part of your subconscious manages to create the right key. You open up that chest. Inside is a fuck ton of coins. To save, for the sake of brevity, in various denominations of platinum, gold, silver, and copper, there is a total of 19,222 gold pieces.
That's a stash right now.
Yes, you're not in debt anymore.
700-year-old wizard,
That's some money lying around.
unsurprisingly, has made bank over his life.
Okay, so guys, I kind of need to keep. I mean, it is all my money anyway, so I don't know why I'm over. But I kind of need to keep 13,500 of that. That's a bit though, actually. You know what? Free for all for the rest of you. I'm generous. You guys have helped me a lot. Really appreciate all of you. So, how much was it? 19,200.
222.
19,222.
Which was just what the dice came up with.
I'll just say 13,000 for that. So, 6,222 between.
Divided by 4.
If you keep the
222.
quote change, it
Okay.
means it's 1,500 each.
Yeah. So you each get 1,500 and save 222 for that.
Okay. Someone make note of that. I won't be.
13,000 gold. So I was the poorest of them. And to be fair, if you take my debt into consideration, I still am. So. Guess who's getting 24 intelligence?
24, 22.
2 intelligence.
It only puts you up by 2, not by 4.
I unfortunately haven't found the book for my stuff.
Yeah, sadly. But you got a potion of frost giant strength.
Well, there was one in the party.
Yeah.
Nature strength 23.
Anyway, yeah, you opened up the chest that Nyah pointed out and opened up a veritable bank. Is there anything else you want to do?
I was trying to investigate notes. I thought maybe I'd get some valuable research.
Yeah, there were no notes inside that chest, it was your money. But, investigating notes, roll an investigation check.
The chest there, and we'll sort that out when we're leaving.
Yep, roll me an investigation check.
Investigation check for that. 17.
17. You are rolling like shit today.
Really?
Other than a natural 20. Sorry, I'm just checking things out. While you're looking around, just to cap off various other bits of equipment, you find a small bead inside a glass container which reads "break in case of emergency." Amazingly, despite the previous emergency, never got around to using this. You can try to identify it if you want.
Small bead. Use that.
Yeah, it's a small black sphere, maybe 3/4 of an inch in diameter, inside of a glass container.
We have a bad party history with black spheres.
You do.
I don't feel a pull to it. Do I?
No.
While I'm investigating any random books that seem really interesting or useful, I'll call out to me. Got my bookshelf there, and I'm just going to throw them on
Sure. You pick up about a dozen books, which mostly are kind of calligraphied and written as fiction books on the Library of Eritrea. It seems you were hoarding any knowledge that vaguely mentioned it in the hope of piecing together folklore to the point of fact kind of premise.
Do any of us recognise any of these books as like the sort of things we'd have been read as children?
Roll me a history.
Nyah.
Can roll me a history check. Yeah, not Faendal, but still need to.
Probably not Rambear. Balthazar's mum would have read to him.
23.
Rambear might recognise some of the stories that's being told from Jenny's in his personal history.
23. You spot one of them is essentially a children's tale on the Library of Eritrea and how it was just this. And it's basically the story of a young boy who is fascinated with the names of everything and vows to learn the names of everything in the world, and in doing so heads to find the Library of Eritrea. And it's this kind of heartwarming tale where he eventually learns that you can't learn the name of everything but learn the names of the people and the things important to you kind of premise. It's a very heartwarming, cuddly children's story that someone like Faendal really shouldn't have in his study.
Type of story that Nyah goes, ugh.
No,
It's a bit high class fiction.
I remember this as a child.
Yeah, you also find various other books detailing magic items and curses. They are essentially a dictionary of magic items and curses for identifying them and figuring out what they are. In terms of mechanics in the game, you will now stand a better chance of identifying magical items with these books on your possession. It's not a perfect identify spell, but it'll make it easier for you. You also find So you're focusing on books. One other book stands out to you, and it's displayed quite prominently, and by sheer luck, almost, it seems relatively undamaged. Like it wasn't near the epicenter of what happened here previously. And it is titled The Xavian Chronicle.
The next?
Yeah,
Or the
next. It is in chat. The Xavian Chronicle, I need different set of notes up. Is a handwritten, very thin book that was written by one of the very early great readers of the Serenity Library. You're not entirely sure how early, but with enough research you may be able to figure it out. It was part of a larger record which detailed the founding and formation and early years of the Serenity Library. And yes, the premise behind its creation. You flick through it. It contains a lot of kind of very flowery language. It's almost poetic, Shakespearean in its record. You have kind of made notes within it at various points, like handwritten notes, which is a little disrespectful to such a book. But your kind of quick investigation going of that's ink that with a careful use of prestidigitation you could clean up. But for your own purposes right now you have made notes to it. There is a particular phrase that you have kind of heavily circled within the whole document, which reads, and I will put this in chat afterwards so you have it fully. Upon this land the entrance to the library is laid. The gifts of the goddess remain for those who seek it. Illuminating, focusing, revealing. Take the first step at the serene gate.
Something to do with a goddess.
Temple.
Eight.
We're gonna have to trudge across the desert again, aren't we?
There's another temple.
The temple on the island.
There is a temple there.
But we should definitely cross the desert again.
Go visit Balthazar's family, I'd be up for that.
Essentially,
Yes, that also.
that is
And Ram.
which is where Ram Ram is, because Ram Ram escaped safely and went back to the last safe haven. Ram Ram is definitely living with Balthazar's mum, who took him in
And Cat.
very graciously. And Cat.
Those are the books. Nyah is still kind of shuffling papers up and putting them into arbitrary piles. It's like you are helping, but long term it's not, kind of thing.
It looks
yeah. At least it's organised.
There's some books on the shelf. Nothing on the room, so.
Nothing in the books that kind of references the room.
Any other ideas, or else I'm just going to put the cube in the Olvin puzzle bit.
Oh, you should.
We should give that a try.
Yeah? Okay. One room back over to the armchair. Put the cube in the cube solver. See no reason not.
Place the cube in it. Roll me an investigation check. Add a d6.
Add a d6. Can people help me?
I can give you guidance.
Are you rolling? Sorry.
Check. Investigation check.
That's a good question. Can I help you?
If there's no way to literally help me to provide the help action, I imagine. So, I was more being like Balthazar, going, please.
Let's.
If you have a way to give me advantage.
Can I help you with wisdom or strength?
Oh no, I'm gonna leave that. Investigation. Technically it's still possible. But also technically still possible that I might hurt myself severely. 20 and a 1, so 21. So now it's up to Balthazar to prevent me from being very, very severely hurt. Just so everyone is aware for the DC 30. And if I score below 25, it's not good. And that's a 22.
Please roll me a wisdom saving throw, Faendal.
Wisdom saving throw. Nyah is nearby.
Yes, technically.
That's +3.
That's 22.
22. Okay.
Is that good?
6, 9, 11, 12. 20, 30, 40,
Boy.
5. You take 22 points of psychic damage, Faendal.
And I collapsed into the armchair. 22.
22.
That's after me
The
saving
good
that.
news is that on average it can't knock you unconscious straight outright. Even
On
failure.
average.
But yes, the rest of you just see like Faendal like places the box inside, gets the tap from Balthazar, and then begins to like turn on this device and begins like articulating it, and it takes up a motion of its own while he's like holding other pieces and sliding them across. And he's kind of in this focus, and then he like moves one piece, and you see a moment of recollection on his face where it's just fuck. You see him move it like he recognizes he moves it just a little bit too far, and you see the box just begin to emanate this undescribable colour for a brief second, before Faendal just is shoved away from it, clutching his head and screaming in pure agony, and just like writhing on the floor for a second, before stopping dead still clutching his head. And then you just see like the ribcage begin to move as like heavy breaths of someone who's just taken an awful lot of pain.
We're not doing that yet. Now. No. Now.
Long breath and then borrowing right in.
Can other people try, do you think?
I would not recommend. No.
I'll pat Faendal on the shoulder and give him like 25 healing.
I only need 22. But feels better. Oh, thank you, Nyah. I don't think we should be attempting to fight any.
I will say, Faendal, you definitely, more than previously, you felt it was possible. You know you fucked up, and you know probably not best to do it again right now, but you know, with that device, with some help, it's possible.
I can do it. I can solve this puzzle, but not right now. That was too much. Okay, we'll come back to that. So, it's not why we're here. Door's not why we're here. see it. Wait, what?
Yeah, but it's good thing to get your memories back at the same time.
Clear stuff could be behind the door.
It could be behind the door. You know what? Yeah, let's open the door now.
Just
You
walk
go.
over and try to open it.
You know what I do? Everything else is worth by doing that. Can I try and
Doesn't open.
Create
It is straight up locked. Oh, you
Is
didn't
there
create
a-
item.
yeah? Can I create item and key again?
Sure. Roll me a history check at disadvantage.
Oh, cocky, no. 17.
I swear that's the second time an 8 and a 4 has come up on that disadvantage check.
I've got 3 nat ones on it, on a plus 13. And an 8 and a 4. Twice.
Yeah.
Anyway, 17.
You fashion a key, and
8 chunks. I imagine.
you place it in the lock, and you turn it.
And I take 56 points of breaking down.
And you take 14 points of force damage as the runes begin to vroom, and they blow you across the room directly into Rambo, who just kind of like stops you and catches you as you were blown across.
How many? Sorry, 14.
14, 1-4.
I accidentally put, like, my health minus that into the damage column. So I was like,
You did the mental maths early.
Okay, I'm going to stop opening things. It was
This is
going
a-
really well for me earlier. I was on a high streak.
This is a dangerous room, Faendal.
Yeah. Didn't need traps getting in. Someone's been in here.
Nyah, since you were tidying up notes, roll me an investigation check.
What's Thrungi been doing this whole time?
Yeah, what has
What?
you been doing?
He's just been stood there at the doorway, like.
I've let you guys. Thrungi has basically. I was going to ask: is there a chair and a desk?
The chat.
There is a desk as well where most of this paperwork seems to have come from. There's basically, you have a chair for reading and casual conversation, which is that armchair, and then you have essentially a work desk where your alchemical stuff is, your other spell components are.
Thrungi has been at that desk with his feet up, watching everything happen, occasionally taking a sip of beer and looking over a bit of paperwork.
Okay, you can roll me an investigation check as well while you're casually doing that.
To try and notice someone on the desk. On the desk.
9.
You ain't finding Jack. It's random bullshit of magic and gates and libraries and random
That'll
shit.
be enough.
Nyah with an 11. Again, similarly, you're very quickly just kind of organising them. Every so often you kind of look at the titles of them when Faendal has bothered to write a title, it seems. There's some kind of stuff that is pure magical equations. There is some what look like diagrams, but don't make sense to you at all. Yeah, it's
Imagine that.
outside of your wheelhouse to figure out what any of this is.
Organizer. I'm just there like, I don't know what any of this is.
Trying to put alphabetically, but it's in different languages and scripts.
Can I have another look at the bookshelf and see if I can find something different this time?
Sure.
Now that we've blown each other up and stuff.
This is starting to feel like a realistic organising the library, trying to read through stuff, and that we just keep doing it.
Also, you've spent enough time that now, Faendal, you can be considered to have attuned to that staff if you want and know what it is.
Yeah, definitely.
It is a where am I at? Staff of the Ivory Claw. It is a magic item on D&D Beyond.
12 for that investigation.
Balthazar, while looking around, you find. Gonna wait for that to unfreeze. That's now unfrozen.
It is not a staff on my D&D Beyond.
Should be.
Just typed in staff and it won't.
Yeah, it's a magic item from Wildmail, so you should
Yeah, but I have access to all the things Gethin has access to while I'm in the...
I should have access to that.
You do. It's just popped up because I'm on our account.
No, I agree. It's not showing up on Chris's. I'll look into that later, but you should be able to check what it is anyway elsewhere. Do you give yourself guidance on this, Balthazar, or not? Because it is just a cantrip, you can go around throwing it around.
I didn't roll guidance, but I can.
Roll d4.
Sick.
It's one of the things you are taking the time that
13 instead of 12.
Yeah, you go around, you find more of these. Faendal's gone through most of the books at this point. I'm frozen. Faendal's gone through most of the books at this point, and collected them. You find, interestingly, around where he picked up the Xavian Chronicle, there's a couple of books on the history of the Serenity Library itself. That may be useful. But yeah, you don't find a lot of things in terms of actual books. Most of what can be discovered has been discovered at this point. You're either going to have to start going through drawers, looking through notes, trying to get into that room, or stuff like that.
Right.
I give you guys permission to go through any of my stuff.
I love the fact that he doesn't go through his own stuff.
But, you know.
He's just like, you guys can go through my stuff. I'm the brainiest person here. I can't be bothered to go through my own work.
Disappears.
From the perfect point then, Gethin, because you just said, you guys can...
He's just loading for me.
By the way, Chris, I worked out the problem and it's in your inventory.
Why?
What was the problem, Bryn?
Even though it's a source book, you still have to tick in your character sheet to allow critical role content. So every item, everything from the Explorer's Guide to Wildmount counts as critical role material that you have to tick.
I hate it.
I'll quick.
There you go.
I've ticked critical role. I'll tick non-core.
No, I ticked it for you. I ticked it for you just now. That was quick for me.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just find it funny that Faendal's like, you guys can go through my library. I ain't bothering. Notes which he written that no one else is understanding. He's like, eh.
Just find the one that looks like the relevant one, you know?
Okay.
Shouldn't be that hard. There we go. Staff of the Ivory Claw. It's cool. Very, very cool. Staff of the Ivory Claw. Oh, it's versatile.
That's good court stuff.
Is it technically a quarter staff?
Yeah. Pretty much all staffs can be counted as quarter staffs for melee weapons.
Yeah, only the staff. Normal staffs can't. They're in items. They improvise.
Oh, there you go.
Anyway, oh damn, that gives me a plus. How much? That gives me a plus 11 to hit now. Then. Oh no. Anyway, I guess. Look, I did find one lead, but it doesn't lead to this stuff. I don't think. And I'll read the passage from the book out. Hello?
That stuff's dope.
Say again?
That stuff is dope. Sorry.
That's cool as hell. I'm quite happy. This is my old staff, yeah?
Yeah.
Feels comfortable in my hand. Feels like this feels right.
Yeah.
Although I feel a bit vulnerable with a staff of protection on me. Maybe I should dual wield them.
So is there any paper? Okay, Rambear is going to ask if anybody's seen anything about the explosion, I guess, before Faendal a year ago.
Various people have been looking. There is nothing recording what happened that caused an explosion. Just doesn't appear anywhere. There's no record of it. In terms of looking, Chris, tell me, would Faendal have dated his notes?
No, he's got such a prodigious memory.
It's very hard to tell what was written when.
Literally, one of his traits, one of his features as part of his class list is prodigious memory. One of the reasons I took that class is that it's such an ironic. But yeah, no, he'd have remembered. They'd have been ordered. All the notes would have been ordered.
Science.
There'd have been like a code on them and stuff.
Is it? I think you should get the Keen Mind feat for free without the +1 to anything.
Without
No.
his memory? No.
No, because it
No.
was hilarious.
Previously, Faendal would have had that feat. That's like level 16 feat, maybe.
Well, Keen Mind only means you remember stuff for the last 30 days, not permanently.
Faendal will get the Keen Mind feat at level 16. I'll say that once he's got all his memories back and he gets to maybe level 12. Do we get a feat at next level?
Yeah.
Maybe I'll take Keen Mind just for the lols.
Anyway, what would you like to do currently? At this point, Nyah has organised every piece of paperwork that she can find into neat piles.
Of useless, but
No one's gone exclusively through drawers yet. Braden, where'd you go?
Still here.
Lost the
Oh.
camera.
Video went. Oh, it's back.
Randomly turned it off. Sorry.
I'll say the poem from the book. The
Oh, yeah.
the entrance to the library is laid, gifts of the goddess remain for those who seek it thing. So it says at the end, take the first step at the Serene Gate. So there's definitely something down at the Serene Gate. But I would wait for that. That's probably going to be later.
Since I've run out of paper to organize, is there any like cupboard or
Drawers, like he keeps
yeah?
mentioning.
Okay, can I have a look in the drawers?
Someone had mentioned drawers previously. I was just bringing it back up. Yes, you can roll investigation. At this point, just due to the lack of spaces that you guys haven't turned out, roll it with advantage. Why not?
Good for the work.
I presume there must be a bed chamber somewhere
There
as
is
well.
a
Hello.
chamber as well. Yes.
I was thinking maybe there's a small little staircase that goes to a little mezzanine.
Sure.
And I will go say that.
You go trawling through drawers, in one of which you find neatly organised in self-contained like little holders 9 different coloured gemstones, all decently sized.
Ooh, pretty.
You would estimate each one is probably worth about 500 gold pieces.
Oof!
I'm gonna point towards them like, got some gems.
They're all
But
different.
I
coloured.
would like the gems.
I'm exploring my bed chamber, so I'm too busy.
Faendal, roll an investigation check while you're up there.
So I find out what Faendal's into.
Did you say with advantage?
Sure.
But it's barely a bed, it's just like a pile of pillows. He meditates, remember?
Maybe it's a bed for your guests.
Wow. Okay. You head up there, and it is fairly simple. It's high quality, comfortable, and doesn't seem to have been damaged too badly. There's a layer of dust on it, but nothing too major. There is a bedside cabinet, largely unadorned. The bed hasn't been slept in a while.
One, 4, 13. 1, 2. My rolls have been awful. Yeah, it's a very simple bed. Very simple mat with pillows, not even a bed really.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's utilitarian but high quality kind of thing.
Nothing here. What have you found, Nyah? I shout from the mezzanine.
Some gems,
Can I go down gems?
Yeah, you can. With your passive perception and Rambear, you notice that that gem, that drawer is deeper than the gems within it would imply.
So, TARDIS power.
No, as in
more
externally the
shallow.
drawer looks deeper. Inside it looks shallower.
Oh, secret drawer.
It's a really thick bottom.
Maybe, but I think knowing that I'm super clever, you know, I am super clever. Can I poke around at the bottom?
Yeah. You work away
Is
a
it the
little
old
bit.
pencil through the bottom thing?
Yeah, there is a false bottom. In which you find in carefully protective cases two red corundums, which bear varying slight sigils that you've seen before in terms of elemental gems.
I
You
think it was
also
red.
find a jar of faintly magical oil. Roll me an Arcana check.
Yeah, that's the one I get a natural.
This is catalyst oil. It is a substance that, for magical contraptions, especially rather delicate ones that require a lot of fine tuning or experimental magics, essentially, that could go easily wrong. This is an oil which aids magical enchantments rolling into one another, combining, and magical architectures actually operating smoothly without potential damage to runes at any random point. It is basically a very useful experimental magic component.
That
Why it
was
is
a
in a
lot.
secret drawer, you're not entirely sure. Same with the elemental gems.
Red conundrums. Are her gems special or just like normal gems?
Those gems just seem like standard gems that might be usable in as spell components, or just for various.
Here's two more gems for you. Be careful with these ones, though. You can have them.
Which colours did you give me?
They're two red corundrum.
Red.
They'll be in the magic items
Search
bits.
elemental gem, and you'll find them.
Elemental gem.
I'm going to say
You'll
with
like-
that nat 20 as well, it'll pertain to Nyah having gone through notes and the fact that she found some notes that heavily referenced the catalyst oil at one point.
Oh. Naya seems busy managing her inventory.
I'm ready.
Nyah digs out the notes for you and does hand them over to you.
I say, some catalyst oil, and you go,
I
read catalyst oil.
I think I saw that in one. Wait. I've organized this. By the letters that I understand, so it's in the C pile.
I look through and see some elven letters that are definitely not the letter C, but they look kind of like the letter C. This is appalling.
It's scattered notes that don't strictly make sense just due to the ordering of them. But for various pieces, it's kind of designs and schematics for something called a dolmen gate. At that point, you remember one of the books that you picked up was a book you picked up in Kulat, was written by an individual with the surname of Dolmen. They were interested in the concept of planar travel, especially. And looking through these notes, Dolmen Gate from this design, seems to be something that Faendal has either made up himself or taken scattered reports of them and made it real, or attempted to make it real. And a lot of the notes kind of circle back to the Library of Eritrea, finding a way into the Library of Eritrea, and that the Dolmen Gate might provide you a method of doing it. Again, with that natural 20, it makes mentions to a side room that is well protected that other people shouldn't be able to see yet.
I created the memory magic on myself. So side room sounds like the metal door.
Maybe
Why did I have to make such hard puzzles for myself?
Maybe you used to be smarter.
I'm gonna get this book that improves my intelligence. It's just gonna be one of Faendal's notebooks. It's like, oh, paid 10 grand for my own diary.
What do you want to do?
Dolmen Gate behind the door. I feel like every second of this that goes on, my real life intelligence score goes down.
can we rub the oil on the runes on the door?
Yes, let's try. I don't want to waste the oil. Is it a tiny? I assume it's not very big.
Based on arbitrary knowledge that you seem to have, you would estimate there's maybe six usages of the oil in that jar.
And I know that it's good for magic items.
Yes, it's good for that kind of stuff.
Rambear had the idea. So Rambear, do you wanna? If I take a little bit of cloth and I dab a little bit of the oil on, do you wanna rub the oil on that door? What's your idea?
Yeah, I'll do it.
I don't want to touch it anymore.
Images or runes?
Door
I'm
handle.
just gonna start rubbing the door. I guess around the hinges initially, and then if that doesn't do anything, I kind of want to try it on one of the runes.
Okay. You go all over, and it goes on the door. The door's now got a fairly nice polish and sheen. Nothing bad happens. You don't hear a lock turn or anything like that. It still appears to be locked and shut.
Exceptional usage. Alright. How about... this sounds awful to me, but how about using it on the... If it helps the smooth running of magical items, do you reckon if we used it on the puzzle box solver, it'd work better?
It might be helpful, yeah.
What?
I think we can still wait until we've taken a long rest and let the, druidic spells just pop into Rambear's head. That might be able to help abilities be enhanced.
I'm very impatient, to be honest. Like, we've spent too long here already. We need to find the spheres. But still, in the back of my mind, we need to find that and get out of here. This is useful for that. But, yeah, I don't want to wait.
It can't hurt to give it one more try.
Yeah.
Well,
try.
It can
It can hurt. It can hurt a lot.
Thank you.
Well, it can't hurt me, as long as I don't touch it.
Alright, shall we give it another try?
Yeah. Well,
Yep.
like you give it another try.
But this time with the oil. Rambear, can you put some oil on the cube machine for me?
And, of course, guidance.
Do you want to keep the catalyst oil? I trust you, Rambear. It's special magic oil.
Magical WD-40. Yes, I would like to dab it on the puzzle box arms, so the whirly-dirly doodad.
That is done.
And then guidance.
Of course.
Yeah. And then Nyah on standby in case my heart stops or something.
Sure, I'll slap you back away.
And then Thrungi's getting some entertainment. And I shall attempt again.
Roll an investigation check.
One minute. Do I want it? If it doesn't. Alright, investigation check.
Roll a d6 with advantage, essentially.
Okay, that's what that did. Okay.
And the D4, but yeah.
He functionally cannot get there, but he can try and avoid the roll less the error margin.
The pain.
Roll the d4. You might still save it.
No, I can't.
No, you can't. Still roll the d4. It happens. Roll a wisdom save, though.
It's gonna be another one. It's 2.
Oh,
So a
no.
total of 22. Again. Wisdom save.
You failed on this thing.
Wisdom throw +3. It's a nat 20 on the wisdom save at least. So 31 in total.
30,
Damn.
36, 42, 48, 50. You did succeed, yeah?
Yeah, I got a nat 20.
25 points of psychic damage. Once again, Faendal is attempting to solve it, and he seems to be doing better. He's like, he avoids that first error and then just goes to make another switch, and he once again screams out in absolute agony. You hear something like, you hear one of his vocal cords almost break just through the amount of pain. Ends up biting his tongue and blood starts pouring out the corner of his mouth. And he's like on the floor, like hunched over in pain, holding onto his head.
I'll quickly touch him on the shoulder and give him another 25 sympathy for healing.
Thank you. I don't think I want to do that again.
I think we need some more help getting that open, if we still need to do that.
I think maybe Rambear is right, and maybe we rest on it, and maybe we think on that. Something in me thinks that maybe the box is the key to opening the door.
Well, if you get your memories back, then remember how to get in.
Yeah?
Yeah, how about try again tomorrow?
Okay, so you all find a space to settle down here, I assume, or do you head back to the rooms you have at the inn? It's up to you.
Head back to the inn.
Yeah.
Or
Let's
you
go to the
can
event.
try again tomorrow. You can try and work out if there are any spells you lot can give him to try and help him.
Faendal, where do you want to sleep?
Yep.
I think the room is wrong. It just feels wrong in ways, so I will go to the inn with my friends. And it's damaged. It's a part of a past life. It's broken.
Okay.
It's not my room.
You head off. You're of course let out of the Sunrise Gate.
And I lock the door on the way out.
Understandable. By the way, you did find the actual key to that room hanging up inside.
I just assumed that Faendal's technique was just like, I'll know
There
the
was a
key.
genuine key, but it was obviously on the inside and locked. So
I'll take that with me.
you head back to your rooms. You meet up with Vent, who's also waiting there. Rambear, for you, there is a a gem encrusted bowl waiting for you. Thrungi, there is a note saying that in due course, your items are someone has taken the commissions and they are being worked on. It may take a couple of days before they're completed, but they are in progress. Balthazar, there is nothing returned for you yet.
I didn't really expect anything.
But you all...
No.
Yeah?
Oh, sorry, you were going to say
No,
something.
no, go on. What are you going to do?
Did they say that the owlry place goes to everywhere, or is it just on the island?
It can go anywhere. Balthazar sent one to his hometown, which is literally across the globe.
Can I send 2 individual letters to the people I owe money to, being like, don't send the bailiffs round?
You can let them know that you have the money, and upon your return, you will complete payment of those items.
I can't fit 14,000 gold pieces into an envelope.
No.
Was it 50 gold pieces is a pound or something like that?
No.
In the actual, like, the weight system?
Oh, in the weight system, yeah. I'm going to say it. I thought you meant like a pound. I'm going to say it.
No.
One
Oh,
gold
like-
They're heavy. You ain't sending them by a bird.
piece.
But you all settle down and to your various sleeps. Faendal.
Yeah?
Your mind is exhausted from this day, from fighting to prove who you were, dealing with memories that refuse to actually be memories, and literally a box trying to rip your mind asunder, not once but twice. During the night, during your meditation, you hear that abyssal voice once again. Visions of you holding a sphere and watching magic itself unravel around you, and everything to your whim. And the voice just echoes in your mind. You are close to finding it. So close to realizing the power that you can have. Just accept it. Find it. Use it. And claim what you've always wanted. You see within that vision a similar one to the one you've had before, of a black sphere landing nearby a sapphire bay and a white city. But more closely now, you see it being picked up by an individual wearing similar robes to those of this library, but different. Not green and white, but grey and blue. And you feel the pull of that sphere, like it is the one you most want in the world before it is cruelly and harshly taken from this world and taken from you. You must find where it went. And you wake up from your meditation. And I think that is where we will end today's session.